Let's go ahead and take some notes on energy. So, at a baseline, energy is just the ability to do work. And we can kind of start building like an umbrella underneath energy. So, underneath energy, we have two main types of energies, which the first is potential energy, which is stored energy or energy at rest, rest meaning when you are not moving. And then we have kinetic energy, which is energy in use uh, or energy while you are actively in motion, moving. So we have potential and kinetic. And then, so here's an example of what this looks like. Kinetic is we're moving here. We get to the top. There's a moment where you pause at the very top of the hill before you start going back down. And then this is kinetic energy as we're moving again. But now that we have kinetic and potential energy, we can kind of look more at the forms of energy underneath that umbrella. So all six of these can kind of be in either a potential form or a kinetic form. So it could either be storing that energy or it could actively be using that energy or moving with that energy. Number one is radiant energy, which we often also call light energy. And this is any energy in the form of light waves. Now, obviously, some types of light waves we can see, right? That's how we can see things and we have different colors and whatever. But there's actually a lot of radiant waves or light waves that do not appear to our eyes. So things like radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, tons of different types of radiant energy. Then we have chemical energy. So this is anything, think like a battery or gasoline. Also food, right? Food is what powers us, but that is stored chemical energy. Mechanical energy, so think things like gears in like a machine or a bicycle, things that are gonna kind of like help things move. Electrical energy, so electricity. Thermal energy is also often called heat energy. And then nuclear energy, which we're going to look more at, but it happens with like nuclear fission and fusion and stuff. We'll look at it towards the end of the unit. The lowest form of energy is thermal or heat energy, which is caused by friction. And the reason we call this the lowest form of energy is really because oftentimes thermal energy is a byproduct, meaning like the extra stuff that gets made, even though we didn't mean to have it. And the ultimate beginning form of all energy transformations is what we call nuclear energy. And really, we only say this because in our solar system, on our planet, the sun is what powers everything on Earth. And so, if the sun didn't have its nuclear reactions happening on its surface, then we would not be able to have any of the other energies on Earth. So we call it the beginning because without the sun, without those nuclear reactions, there would be nothing on Earth for us. And then the form of energy that is always considered intermediate, intermediate meaning like the middle, is electrical energy because it doesn't store very easily and or usefully. And what this means is it really often it gets converted to other things very quickly. So electrical energy is always finding an end result in light energy or in heat energy. So it doesn't really, like, I can't just leave things as electrical energy for extended periods of time, usually. Here are some examples of energy transformation. So we have chemical energy here. These people are eating food. Food is stored chemical energy that then gets converted into kinetic mechanical energy in this picture. Kinetic because they're moving, and mechanical because they are using their body, the joints and stuff like that to play a game. That's one type of transformation. Then you can see the sun, and we are specifically looking at the light that the sun is giving off. And so light energy we call radiant energy. And you guys will learn about photosynthesis in biology, but in photosynthesis, plants can take that light energy and turn it into food for the plant. And food, remember, is chemical energy. And then down here, you can see these power lines. And these power lines are bringing electrical energy, which is then going to your home so you can cook with it in this example. And you need heat in order to do that. So the electrical energy becomes thermal or heat energy. 3 things that you have to know. Just like the law of conservation of mass and matter, the law of conservation of energy states that 1, energy cannot be created, 2, energy cannot be destroyed. But the most important thing is that 3, energy can be transformed, meaning it can change from one type of energy to another type of energy to another type of energy over and over and over again. So when it seems like energy is lost to us, when we're like, oh my gosh, all the energy's gone, most of the time that energy just really transferred into heat energy. So if we look at this example, if we calculated the amount of electrical energy, which we can do, according to conservation of energy, we would have the exact same amount of light energy because law of conservation says I cannot create or destroy energy. But if you actually did the math, the amount of light energy you get is less than the amount of electrical energy that went into the light bulb. And the reason for that is a lot of that electrical energy gets converted into heat energy, which is not always our goal. If you think about a light bulb, most of the time that light bulb is just so that you can see. We just want things to be bright. So the goal isn't heat. But if you've ever gone near a light bulb or if you've ever touched a light bulb, it's really hot. So we don't mean for it to give off heat energy. But one way that heat feels lost to us is that it turns into heat energy. So the final kind of part of our umbrella, the smallest part, is where is that energy coming from? What are the sources? And we're going to talk about 10 of the most common energy sources. So number 1 is coal and petroleum, which is also called crude oil in a lot of places. So petroleum, crude oil, same exact thing, and then we have coal. Propane, which is a type of gas, you have maybe seen a tank like this before, and natural gas is like what you get in your homes. We also have nuclear energy. We'll talk more about this later, but this is some of our like radioactive elements. Then we have biomass. Bio means anything that's alive. So really anything that is alive or was once alive would be considered biomass. Wind and solar. So solar meaning sun, light. Geothermal. Geo means earth and thermal means heat. So this is energy, heat energy that's coming from the inside of the earth, like from the crust and the mantle of the earth. Hydro meaning water. And within the United States, the most used energy source is petroleum. But for electricity specifically, that source is coal. Petroleum is most commonly used to power cars and buses and things like that. But if we specifically look at electricity, it is coal. The second most common energy source is nuclear energy. And actually, there are places in the world where nuclear energy is their number 1 energy source, which is really interesting. And then the final thing we're going to talk about are the 2 categories that these energy sources can be divided into. Number 1 is renewable energy, which means we can use that over and over and over again. And number 2 is non-renewable energy, which is energy that can only be used one time. So let's go through these 10 types of energy, and you're going to write an R if it is renewable or an NR if it is non-renewable. Number 1, coal. Coal is non-renewable. Petroleum is non-renewable. So is propane, natural gas, and nuclear. So these are going to be our 5 non-renewable energy sources. And everything else we're about to talk about is all renewable, meaning we can use it again. Biomass, wind, solar, geothermal, and hydro are all renewable energy sources. So here's a quick overview. Renewable here on the left-hand side and non-renewable here on the right-hand side. And finally, we're going to talk about what fossil fuels are. You've probably heard this term used a lot. So let's look at that. Fossil fuel includes coal, petroleum, natural gas, and propane. So fossil fuels are your non-renewable energy sources except for nuclear. So it does not include nuclear, but all of our other non-renewable energy sources are considered fossil fuels.